One of the things that it's always hard to do in the run-up to Christmas is to escape the commercial and secular build-up to the celebration. I have a friend who jokes that Christmas is any month with a burr at the end of it, September, October, and so on. And although it's not quite that bad, we can certainly see the point. Our Advent preparations are carried out against a backdrop of noise which threatens to overwhelm the silence, which might otherwise allow us to receive an increase in our hope, and through that hope to build up a joyful sense of expectation. That background noise can also be there for Christmas Day itself, not only because it can be over in a chaotic flash, but also because expectations may or may not have been fulfilled. And when we think about it, how can they have been fulfilled if the celebrations that have happened do not in any way touch on the wonderful mystery of the Incarnation, which should be at the heart of it all? But in saying this, mentioning this noise, this chaos, it's important to pause for thought. This is the situation we find ourselves in the world, in the society in which we live. And we simply can't wait for an ideal world with ideal conditions to allow us to find the stillness and the space that we need, as if somehow everything will miraculously align and make things easy for us. It's a great temptation for us as Christians to think this way, but we must strongly resist it. The world is not an ideal place. It is a fallen place with its original goodness and beauty, though still present and visible, nevertheless damaged and to an extent obscured. We might go further and say that, tempted as we may be to externalize the noise and distraction, if we are honest, we know that we have contributed to that noise. We have played our own part in making things less than ideal for others and less than ideal for ourselves. It's a theme that echoes and re-echoes throughout history and goes right back to our very origins. We were created in God's own image and likeness, made by Him for communion with Him and with each other. But the struggle through those ages and our own personal struggle in our own lives, in our own time, is to allow that image, to allow God's glory to manifest itself rather than be obscured and fade into the background. It is the struggle to hear and respond to the voice of the Lord who calls us, rather than being drowned by the noise we hear outside us or even create for ourselves from within our very actions. But being here tonight, when the world around us is preparing for sleep and the background noise is dying down just a little, we recognize both the problem and welcome the longed-for solution spoken of by the prophets. The solution which has now arrived amongst us as a child in the manger. As we heard from the prophet Isaiah, to us a child is born, to us a son is given. And we note, given and given to us, to you and to me. We are the purpose of this child in the manger, who is at once both fully human and fully God. And this means that when we look at this child, we can know with the certainty of faith that we see the God whom we have strained our eyes to see, the God whom we have struggled to hear above the noise internal and self-inflicted, and the noise external to us. As we see God in this child, at the same time, we may also catch a glimpse of ourselves in various ways. Seeing the child might make us think, for example, of our own vulnerability at the beginning of our lives, our fragility, our total dependence on others. And we should also realize that whilst we surely do grow and develop, the fragility and dependence don't only mark the beginning of our existence. They are an ever-changing feature of the whole of our lives from cradle to the grave. But hopefully more than anything, we also see in this child this true self that we have lost sight of, hidden by the ego or by our fears and anxieties or our sins or by being tossed around by others. We catch a glimpse of the deepest level of ourselves because we see the image of God in which we were created, which grounds our value and dignity. And beyond that still, we also catch a sight of an opening for us of grace, which will unfold for each of us as we center our lives on this great mystery of the Incarnation, as we grow up in and through him, allowing his life and his glory to manifest itself in us. It's important, though, to realize that our lives don't have to be all sorted for this growth to start or to happen. The child who is born to us, the child who is given to the person that we now are, not to the person that we may be at some future point. It is central to the Christmas message that he is given to be found by us in the midst of the noisy reality of a life in a wonderful yet fallen world. Whatever our own personal reality looks like, this Christmas night, the child in the manger calls us back to our origins in God and calls us to focus on him so that his life, his love might unfold in us.